I have just fallen in love with Calder's mobiles, and so I've been playing around with creating my own. I thought for New Year's it would be fun to create something a little intentional. So today I want to make a mobile with wishes for the new year, sort of borrowing on the Japanese tradition of writing down your New Year's wishes and putting it on a tree. And instead, I'm going to write it down on this Japanese calligraphy paper and then create an encaustic monotype with it so that it becomes transparent. And then when I create the mobile, it will be like sparkles of light coming down from the structure. So I don't want the wishes to be super specific. I don't even know if I really want them to be legible. So I'm just going to start out. And this paper has a rough side and a smooth side. So I'm going to write on the smooth side. And probably a little bit more like asemic writing versus actually legible writing. But this is what I'm hoping to see for the new year. It does help that my handwriting's messy naturally. And then if we wanted to make it even more convoluted, we could write on the back side as well. But instead, I'm going to do a little bit of a Hilma A.F. Klemp, Cy Twombly kind of thing. And we're just going to something like that. All right, let's get the wax out. I'm going to bring this over here so that you can see it. So I've got my Presto griddle here. It's at 200 degrees. I've got a giant piece of medium here. And we'll just paint the griddle. The nice, might need to get rid of that for right now. Probably wouldn't hurt to heat up a brush. Could also just paint medium already melted, but I didn't do that today, so not yet. And just and what this is going to do is just make that paper transparent. Flip it over here in a minute. So you can see how transparent the paper's gotten. Okay, flip that. So I just want to make sure it's just soaked in the wax. If you see any white places, we can add a little more wax. These Presto griddles aren't perfectly flat, at least mine's not. I do have a glass one I bought that might be better for this. But. All right. We'll just hold it up for a second, let it, it's a little sticky. I need to put gloves on. All right, so now I'm gonna put this down. I'm just gonna take this sort of natural white color I have, and we're going to, it's got some colors in it. And we're just gonna kind of mask out some of the colors. Let it kind of blend. And then I'm going to take, ooh, the pearlescent colors I have. All right, so I've got these Encaustikos pearlescent colors, and I think that will be fun. Green. So just really subtle colors. You're a blue. You're a blue pearlescent. Do. Opal aquamarine. You know that's going to be cool. And then we're going to just put on the other side. Whoops, come here. And let it kind of melt and smear and blend. And then we just gotta let it cool down a little bit. Now this feels a little bit flimsy still, so I'm going to actually sandwich it with another piece of this paper. I need to let it cool down before I can set it down. I can clip it here. So I don't want more white. I want this next layer to be pretty clear. So this is the paper I'm using. I just bought it off of Amazon, but it's nice. It doesn't go super translucent, but it, you know, it's not like Tangucho, but it's a heck of a lot cheaper than Tangucho, I'll tell you that. So we're going to make another clear version. We're going to sandwich it together so that it makes it a little stiffer. Now, when you do this, you don't have to worry about fusing. However, what I've found is when I'm making the moldable, the wax will crack. So a little fuse at the end just kind of takes away all the cracks, which is nice. And I know I said I was going to keep this clear, but I think I'd like some more blues and greens. So we're just going to, let's see how wild this opalescent stuff is. And where's the blue one? There it is. Ooh, how fun is that? I'm just going to really get a lot of medium in there and let it swirl around. And make these opalescent, cool designs. We're gonna give it a minute. All right, so I like how it's just making these forms, and we're just gonna bring it down. We're gonna put it in the center first. Not that it really matters because it's so abstract. Kind of like a little galaxy. Oh yeah, that's pretty. Use some little subtle variations in the paper, so it's not pure white, because I have white walls, so I want it to show up. All right, we'll let that cool down for just a second. Well, actually, I don't think it matters. So I'm gonna put the rough side to the rough side. Take this. All right. There. Doesn't matter if it's the right way. All right, we're just gonna sandwich these together. And starting from the middle, just let the wax seal it together. And this will make it stiff, which will make a nice mobile. You can see there's some bubbles there, but we're just gonna work our way out. This brush is really stiff right now. I kind of like how the opalescent colors are blending with the white to become a little more pastel. All right, so I got a couple of air bubbles. I'm just going to work those out. Worst comes to worst, you can pierce them and get rid of them that way. Okay, that side looks pretty good. Big one here in the middle. I'm gonna have to clean my brush. And you can see the air bubbles when you pick it up and look at it to a light. So that looks good enough, probably. A little air bubble right here. So this paper seems to shred a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's not going to matter. All right, so now the paper's a lot stiffer. One little air bubble here. Now it feels not quite like 300-pound water paper, but like at least 140-pound water paper, which I think is going to be fabulous for making a mobile. And it doesn't matter if you have a little bend or anything, because we are going to have to reheat this anyways after we make the mobile. I'm going to let this cool all the way, and then we'll cut it out. I'm inspired by this encaustic I did where I embedded some money plant in there. And so what I think I want to do is I'm going to cut out some circular shapes And then I want to edge them with some of this gold to mimic the brown edging on the money plant leaves, flowers, whatever they are. And I don't care about keeping my words because I want it to be kind of abstract. So we're just going to start with some big shapes. What makes the mobiles fun is when you have a variety of shapes so that the balance is off center so that you get different lengths of wire. So I like the idea of breaking up the wish. So like you're not asking the universe for a transactional prayer just for yourself, right? You're putting it out there in the universe, breaking it up, making it more abstract, hopefully more likely to come true, right? I might have enough for multiple or a giant mobile. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe you do a series of small circles. All right, I'm going to cut out the rest of this. You don't need to sit there and watch me. It doesn't really matter what shape you cut out. You just need a variety so that it looks interesting. So I've cut out all my shapes, and now I'm just using my X-Acto knife to smooth out some of the rough edges, some sharp points, maybe putting some interior curves just to make the shapes more interesting. And, you know, it doesn't really, this is all completely subjective. I cut some interior shapes just to give it more light, which I think is always kind of fun. I feel like Calder did that too. Just making some playful shapes. I think we're pretty good here. Maybe just, oh, this guy looks a little chunky. Maybe just this little edge right here. There we go. So we have these nice organic shapes. I've got my palette here. Let me move it over. That is hot. And I'm going to use some golden bronze metallic. And we'll just see if it'll melt. It'll melt right. It's going to melt on the black palette because the silver, I've got an Enkaustikos aluminum plate here, but it's still a little cold. So we'll just put a little puddle there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to roll it through. So I'm just going to put a little edge of gold. So you can see the gold there, which is just sort of fun, kind of reminiscent of the plant. I might need a lot more. And I did not thin this with any medium. I find that the gold pigments, because they separate so easily. Oh, that looks so fun. I love that. So here is my inspiration for this mobile. And of course, we've got the wishes for the new year written on the pieces. And I think, you know, the pieces have kind of the same feel as this painting, which I really love. I've got some 18 gauge wire. I've got a couple of different pliers. I have this ball tool, and really I just want to use this for the diameter of this wooden thing. You can use a pencil, whatever you have. This is just to make some basically jump rings. And let's see what we want to do here. I've got these little pieces, and I would love them to sort of be almost like a little tail. So like if they've got 2 and 2, maybe one here. And then like these big pieces, maybe they're going to be balanced differently. What I really like about what Calder does is that he will build these little tails where the pieces just become like a little dragon's tail. So we're going to try to do that with the little pieces, I think. And then I'm going to take this really, let's see, which one do I like? I don't have to use all of these pieces, but I mean, that's pretty dramatic. Take one of those big pieces, balancing maybe with some of these pieces. We got some more of these little pieces. All right. Not exactly sure how it's all going to work out, but we're going to do freeform. So really the easiest thing to do is start at the bottom and work your way up. Let's see. So here I've got my wire. And these little guys don't need a big, long anything. So we're going to cut a couple lengths of wire. And see how it goes. Maybe some that are a little bit longer as it builds up through the tail. Okay, we'll start there. And then we're going to need some rings. Now you could absolutely use some jewelry jump rings, but I just want everything to be the same color. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to curve the wire around. Might need some pliers for this. I like this 18 gauge wire. I used 20 gauge previously and it was a little thin. It worked, but it was a lot floppier than I really wanted. So you can see we're making these spirals. I'm not exactly sure how many I need, but we'll just do a bunch. It'd be nice if they were a little tighter together, but it's just not letting me coil it that tight. All right. We're going to stop here. We can always make more. Okay. So basically we've made a little spring, which is pretty fun. And what we're going to do, I have some little nippers here, is we're going to just cut it right there. We're just making ourselves some jump rings. And we can refine them once we get them going. And it can be any diameter. I've tried small, I've tried little or large. It's just a creative choice, but I think this is going to look nice with how big everything is. I want it to be really open and loose. All right, that's an order now. So then what we need is some kind of piercing tool. I've got an Dowel here. Here's a piece of chipboard. And then what you're going to do is you're going to make 2 holes about 1/4 to 1/2 inch apart, depending on how big your piece is. And as you can see, the Encaustic has made it pretty sturdy. It's almost like Yupo paper. Now the hole needs to be big enough for the wire. Maybe I use my little, there we go, make it a little bit bigger. And if you're doing encaustic, it's going to crack, but don't worry because we're going to fix that later. Maybe it doesn't need to be quite so big. Oh. So you could use a thumbtack, you could use a pin. I actually like using, I have a bookbinding awl that works really good. And then you're going to take our wire here, maybe straighten it out a little. And we're going to take our needle nose pliers and we are going to give it about, I don't know, what is that? Maybe about a ½ inch. And we're just going to put a bend in the wire on both sides. It doesn't have to be super accurate. And then if this is the top, we're going to come in from the bottom. And we're going to go in the top hole. And you might need to bend it a little bit so it can get into the next hole. Come on. There we go. Maybe. There we go. And so as you can see, we're just going to come through the hole and then you just squish it down. And you can use pliers, but it really isn't that necessary. Maybe pliers would be nice just to make it look flat. There we go. You just want to be careful you don't crush your encaustic. So here we have the first piece, and then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go in through the bottom. I did it the wrong way. In through the back, the front side, I guess. No. Okay. We want it to come in through the back side if you have a front and back. And then you're going to, ooh, bright light. So then here we've got the two pieces on this little metal, and then we're just going to make a couple of these. You can see I think they're right there's nice. So now we're just going to make a couple of these and then we'll start assembling them. So once again, we just take our wire, we're putting a little, maybe just a little over of 90-degree bend, maybe 45-degree bend-ish, 60 degrees if we want to be all mathematical. And then if you have a front side and a back side, you're going to go in through the back side. It's going to go past, and you'll just have to bend it so that you can get it to go into the other hole. There we go. And then you just squish it. We'll do this one. Okay, so my idea here is that this is going to be lined up like a little tail. Maybe they just keep going this direction. And we might have to put some spacers, but let's just do one and see what it needs to be successful. So I'm going to close up my little jump ring a little here. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out the balance point, and I'm going to put my needle nose pliers right there. And then I'm going to, with it facing up, we're going to slide it up and over. We're going to go about halfway around, and then we're going to move the needle nose pliers so it keeps going on the rounded side. So it should look like this, and if it's crooked, no worries, it's just wire, you can fix it. All right, so you should have something that looks like this. And if you have jewelry pliers like this round one, you can make it maybe a little bit more round, but it's really not that critical. So we've got this one. And then what I want to do is I want to attach this one, but not, you know, it can't be right on top of it. It needs to have like a spacer of some sort. So where's my wire? Okay, so let's make, how long do I want this tail? That seems long enough. All right. So with this in mind, what we're going to do is we're going to string all of these on the tail. So we're going to take our plier. Oops, let's take the big one so you can see. I'm going to make the first loop. Open it up a little. And we're going to string this in. Ah, needs to be wider on the end. There we go. And we're going to close it up and straighten that. So if I have this, and then I want this one, say, not too far away, but that's not very well balanced, is it? Let's bring this guy down a little. There we go. And then if I want this guy, say, here, we're going to loop underneath with this one. Makes it a little more difficult, but and then we're going to figure out our balance point here. Right there. And we're going to loop through on this. I gotta get it to go around each other. That's the hardest part. There we go. A little bit of a little thing. And then this is saying this way. All right, so we're gonna just, it looks like we slide it in the way we want it, and then it's going to loop around, and then we're going to just tighten up our loop here. It's a little crooked. Oh, maybe because it's got a pivot. So there we go. So now we've got this tail happening, which is really fun. It seems a little crooked still, but we can fix that. All right. And now we're going to go up again. Maybe about the same amount. And over and over. So I'm going to finish this tail, and then we'll figure out the next section of our mobile. And if it gets a little bent, you just have to manhandle it a little. It's going to get a little out of whack. And then once it's all together, we can fix everything. So here we go. We've got our little tail built. And then I built another little one. And I think I'd like to put this over here somewhere, kind of give it this cross. So we're going to create our loop hanging down, which means we go under. And then we're going to bring it in here to make it round. And this time I'm going to use a jump ring because I think I want more movement on this particular piece. And then this piece is going to hang, maybe we need 2 jump rings just so that the angle is correct. So let's close up this jump ring. Sure it's, and we're going to figure out our balance point here. Woo! Okay, so right about there. This is going to be crazy to go around, but we'll see how it does without getting too tangled. There, not too bad. All right, does it still balance? Maybe this piece needs to come down a little bit. There we go. And then we'll put a jump ring through here because that way it'll stay in the right angle that we want, I believe, for this. So now you can see you've got a lot of movement on that piece. It's going to spin around and it's going to have a lot of fun. All right, so now we're getting up to the top of our mobile. And we are going to want, because this is so heavy, maybe we put a really big one here to balance it. And then we can go up from there. So let's see what that looks like. And then I need to straighten this wire a little. So I'm just gonna take these, pull a little bit, straighten it, and just bend it a little bit here. All right, so now we gotta find the balance point. So our balance point is here. Now we might be able to force it somewhere else, but probably not. And I think we need to bring it up because it's going to, this guy maybe needs to come up. So here we go. So here's our balance point. That looks pretty cool. And what I'd like to do is go up a level and then build another overlap. So we're going to take our pliers here, and I think the easiest one to spin is going to be this side. And this time the loop is going up because we're going up. You know, in retrospect, maybe I should have put the jump rings on these bottom ones. And it's not too late. I can still do that, but we'll see. We'll see if we like it or not. All right, so here we go. This is looking very fun. Let's try. We'll make it a little extra long just in case, but That was not a very good round loop, but let's see if we can't fix it with this jewelry tool. And then we can just cut off this extra. And it doesn't, it doesn't matter a terrible amount since we've got the jump ring, but I'd like it to look nice. All right, so here we have our mobile right now, and I'm thinking maybe this is all it needs to be. Kind of looks like a fish of some sort, and maybe I'm overthinking it. So, you know, sometimes you need to know when to stop, right? So now I've got enough pieces to do a whole nother mobile. I hope you had fun, and let's just tweak this just a little bit to make sure things are straight. So you can simply go through and straighten out the wire by hand. You can use your pliers. Like this piece looks like it could use a little help. Like it could just be a little bent better. All right, so here we have a mobile. Happy New Year, and good luck with your New Year wishes.